was a difficult birth. She was born. Her mother had certain medical issues. She was prematurely born and she was just about 1.2 kgs at birth. And there was a little bit of stress at home. We were having certain differences. One day she said that she couldn't take the stress and she wanted to move. The next day she left, and post that I've been a single father. Daughter was about 8 months old at that time. It's just that to have a pleasant environment that she grows up in, grows up happy, and then decides on her life. But then, at least to give her an environment where she's able to grow well, and that is my primary responsibility. So I wanted to do that. After my wife left, I found it slightly difficult to, get along with them, in the sense I always had this constant fear that probably they would judge. They would. I'm not sure how exactly they would take it, and also there would be concerns within that family, within those couples too, in the sense like. It's just that the woman would feel that the men are together and I am looking after the kids kind and all that, and that's primarily my role. And so they would not be so comfortable into going for certain trips. There were various other things. So and of course a lot of time the questions again keep hovering around the same subject. I was not too comfortable because obviously my daughter is with me and she's also listening to that. I don't want her to be always listening to those kind of and conversations around this topic tend to be a little negative at that time. I did not want that. So, and that constant judging, so I slowly withdrew myself to whatever extent possible. I constantly had this that my daughter is being forced, or like the situation is making her stay away, away from her family. She's having to spend that time over there, and I was worried about how exactly she would react, how she would grow up. What is the impact that being in a daycare and not with other family members going to impact on her? What is it going to have? How is she taking it? How is she, because obviously end of the day secondary care is not as good as primary care, so that difference would definitely be there. So she growing up in that, being constantly exposed for a couple of hours every day over there was a bit of a challenge. In fact, at one of the daycare, when I walked in one day and I just saw it, like, it's just that pretty much for a couple of hours all these kids were made to sit in a line. Imagine 3-year-old, 4-year-old kids being asked to sit for hours, couple of hours, just sit around and not play. And but then I had very little option. That was a limitation. Yes. One of the biggest issues was I wanted to ensure that she has sufficient nutrition, because she was born underweight. She needed that, and then that was my primary responsibility to make sure. And I had not cooked for myself also all these years, so, and I had to cook for her. So the first thing that I did was I set up the kitchen, and first couple of days experimented with the cooking. Try to see how exactly it is. So one of the things was I set up the cooker, and I set the cooker, and I was not too sure whether it is. Have I set it right? After switching it on, I stayed a couple of feet away from that. I was worried it's going to burst or something. I know maybe I've not sealed it properly, I've not put the whistle properly, or what it is. I was not sure how much exactly the quantity of diet she's supposed to take. I try to give her adult portions and try to package everything, together at one point in time. So, like first thing in the morning, I used to try to give her a bowl of dal and make her have milk and all that, and it was quite a lot for her. And her lunchbox used to carry 2 rotis, and for a 4-year-old kid, and she used to throw up at times, and so that was the gradual learning, cleaning her, changing her diapers, and there are only two, either there's a men or a women. So I ended up taking her to the men's washroom every time, because that's only best. I mean, I obviously cannot take her and go inside a ladies' washroom, though of course it's she who has to use the washroom, but I can't take her. And then actually, gradually, as she grew up, I had to sort of tell her to go independently inside the women's washroom. And it took some time. I mean, she also needs to understand how exactly to clean herself and put on her clothes back and all that. And so, yes, generally we used to go to the men's washroom. So she started out going to the men's washroom rather than the ladies. First reaction, I mean, would generally be that probably something wrong that you did, or probably I mean, you were not right with your wife, or things like that. I mean, why would she abandon, or things like that. And uh, I was not yet comfortable in telling her, so we not decided how exactly to tell her, broach the subject, or tell her where her mother is. And that was not a subject that I wanted to talk to her. At least unless she's slightly old enough to be able to handle that. But then, and of course, she always used to be around me, and people start talking on that, and listening. And obviously, even though she's a small child, she's listening, she's hearing. So that was not a very comfortable. Sometimes people, just because they're not in a similar situation, think they can judge over those issues or pass comments or even give advice on anything. Considering that she's a girl, just that they felt that probably as a father, I probably would not be comfortable talking about sensitive topics or something. They self-appointed themselves as the role of telling her or guiding her on those topics. Have you started getting your periods? Yeah, they said I start asking those things. There's no reason why they should. I mean, there's nothing that they can do about it. Yes, she's a girl, and I felt that the easiest way is to just address it naturally. I mean, not make a big issue out of it or something. It's something very taboo, or it's just a natural process, and that's going to happen. When these kids go to school, they're exposed to children of different age groups. They tend to talk a lot of things. Probably she would hear those things and talk about it and all that. And so before she gets any kind of wrong information, so a year and a half before, probably when she was 10 plus, is when I just decided, and we just spoke about it. We just brought up the topic about certain things that look, as you grow older, you will have bodily changes, the things would happen, and reason behind it and how exactly it happens. So we spoke about it. Just plain natural, this is what happens, and this is what is going to happen, and this is how every woman goes through. A couple of times she said, I'm waiting to get my periods. I said, be happy as long as you don't get it, because otherwise you have an entire lifetime, a long time, 2 years. I still want to experience it. I think the very first time she got it, she just came up running. She said, hey, I got my periods. She was there with me since she was 8 months old. So we never spoke specifically about it, saying that your mom is here, not here. We did not talk about that subject at all. I mean, she grows up in an environment where she only sees a father. She assumes this is what a family is. She sees a grandfather, a grandmother, a father. She assumes this is her family. And she's learning. She's trying to understand, and her concept is this way. So we were in a train. We were going somewhere, and she was just running around in the train. There was another kid over there. The kid saw her and asked her, where's your mom? And with a typical that expression, he looked at her. She said, तेरी मम्मी कहाँ है? And she just pointed at me. So the girl started laughing. She said, इसको कुछ मालूम ही नहीं है, इसको मम्मी पूछ रही है, पापा की तरफ दिखा रही है. It took some time for her to realize that, okay, there are two people probably in other families. Here, it's only one. Yeah, so we were pretty comfortable with the way we were. I mean, it was not that we found any kind of hindrance. Yes, she was not there, but I don't think, at least in my opinion, I don't think there was anything that she was missing, specifically missing out on. I mean, generally, as far as her upbringing is concerned, we were all making any effort to help her have as normal a childhood, as normal a life as possible, without any kind of biases or prejudices or anything. But then, generally, let's say with her friends and I mean, the friend's parents or let's say certain teachers, when they come to realize that they ask her or they tell her, somewhere along the line, I got this feeling that she felt that probably she was slightly lesser than others, or in some way not the same as others, or not as normal as others, or something abnormal about her. But it's got nothing to do with her. She's a normal person. Yesterday, somebody left a bottle, those 2 water bottles, and they dumped it at the back. It was rattling. I mean, whatever was there, it's there between the parents, and okay, there's no way that she is lesser in any way. And I think she was around 5 or something when I think we were just going somewhere, and I spoke something about her mother, and it was the first time like I said, she just looked and turned around at me and she said, "So Raika has a mom also?" She says. I say, "Yes, you do also do have." She said, "Okay, where is she?" I said, "She's not here." So initially we used to tell her that her mom is abroad, she's not here. So I used to tell her she's in the US, she's in America, she's working. She had no concept of time at the time. So a couple of times we used to tell her, yeah, she had come last year, you met her, you played with her, and so she believes it. I mean, her memory was short. And so then at times I think she said she wanted to just go to the US, go to America and start shouting, Mama, Mama, where are you? I think she was around 8 when I thought of she's sort of old enough to handle it. Every year I made it a point to go for about 3-4 trips. Initially we used to be short 2-3 day trips, and then I did a 1 week trip. It's only she and me, and that's our time that we spend absolutely alone. The swimming pool usually used to be a place where we used to have these conversations. In one of those trips, that time I brought up the subject. I told her, "Look, your mom is pretty much here. She's in the city, and we had certain differences, which is why she moved out. That's how it is. Would you like to meet her?" And she said, "Yes." I sent her a message that daughter is here and she wants to meet you. Would you be keen to meet? And she came and she met. So when she actually came and she met, and I told her that this is your mother, she got a little emotional and she was hitting me, and said, "Yeah." Give him a hug. She has a right and a need to be in touch with both the parents to the best of this thing, and it's a part of being normal. I don't want her to grow up, like a couple of things. One, detesting another parent, because that was not what it is, right? I mean, both the parents do love the child equally. It's their child, so they would do that. And also, again, not be biased against the institution of marriage or something. It's something that happened, but that does not mean that it's like the grapes are sour kind of thing. It's not that you grow up thinking that marriages are not right. It happened, and we probably use that more as a learning to ensure that you have as normal a life, as normal a family, as normal a marriage as possible, and make sure you don't have a similar situation like us.